It was a warm Sunday afternoon in Alderstone Hollow, a gated suburban community known for its manicured lawns, pristine sidewalks, and a homeowners association so meticulous, even mailboxes were color-coded by quarter. After 3 weeks of moving in and quietly adjusting to a new life, I was finally doing something joyful again, building a treehouse for my daughter, Eden. She was 7, whip-smart, and born with a rare neuromuscular condition that meant she couldn't walk or lift things easily, but her mind ran faster than any child I'd met. That treehouse was her dream, one of the few things that made her light up again since her mom, my wife, Camille, passed away. I was halfway through hammering a support beam when I heard it. Fire. Somebody call 911. A woman's scream pierced through the otherwise calm afternoon. I dropped the hammer, heart racing, and took off down the slope from our backyard, past the rose bushes, and through the wrought iron gate that separated our property from the community center's parking lot. As a police commander with over 2 decades on the force, I'd run toward dozens of burning buildings, gunfire, collapsed bridges, you name it. But nothing prepared me for what I saw next. Smoke curled viciously from a silver sedan parked at the edge of the lot. People stood back, recording on their phones, frozen with indecision. But my eyes locked onto something that made my blood run cold. My own navy blue van, parked 3 spaces down, with Eden inside. Her little face was pressed against the window, eyes wide in panic. I had left her with a neighbor, Ms. May Chin, while I worked on the treehouse. May had taken her to the reading hour at the center, a community event that was supposed to be safe, structured, and filled with cheerful volunteers and crayon-stained books. I sprinted toward the van. May was already there, yelling, "Let me through. Please, the child is inside." But standing between May and the van was a tall, thin woman in an immaculate cream-colored suit. Her hair was swept into a bun, so tight it looked painful. In one hand, she held a clipboard, and in the other, my van keys. "I told you already," the woman snapped. "This vehicle was not pre-registered for the event. Only approved vehicles are allowed within 100 feet of the community center during Tier A functions. That's my daughter in there," I shouted, my boots slamming the pavement as I closed in. "Step aside." The woman turned to me, chin lifted in disdain. "And you are?" "I'm her father." "Well," she said, voice syrupy with passive aggression, "then you should have known the rules. This is a secure event, and I'm responsible for ensuring all HOA protocols are followed." That was when I realized who she was. Evelyn Harrow, the HOA president. I'd heard the stories. How she once fined a cancer patient for unauthorized garden gnomes and made a family repaint their house because their shade of beige was 2 hues too dark. I thought it was suburban legend. Until now. The fire crept closer. The sedan's engine hissed as flames licked up its hood. I could see Eden trying to reach the door handle, but the modified controls for her condition were on the passenger's side, out of her reach. "I'm giving you a lawful order. Step away from the van," I said, voice turning to steel. "Give me the keys." Evelyn smiled. "If that child is even yours, which hasn't been verified, then shame on you for putting her in this position. You're compromising community safety. You're holding my daughter hostage while a car burns 10 feet away." Evelyn didn't blink. Rules are rules. With a flick of her French manicured thumb, she pressed the lock button on my key fob. I heard the mechanical click of the van doors locking. Eden's hands slammed against the window in panic. "You just locked her in," May gasped. "She'll be fine," Evelyn said with icy confidence. "Emergency services are on their way. There's no need for drama." I had lost count of how many burning vehicles I'd seen explode. We had maybe 2 minutes before that sedan went up in a fireball. "I'm Commander Jackson Ford, 8th Precinct. You're obstructing an emergency response, and you've just endangered a disabled minor." I pulled out my badge. Evelyn's eyes flickered, but just for a moment. "This is private property," she hissed, doubling down. "Your authority means nothing here without jurisdictional writs. Now back off or I will file a complaint." That's when Marcus Lang, the 17-year-old linebacker from 2 streets over, tackled her. One clean shoulder roll and she was flat on her back, clipboard skidding across the pavement. "Sorry, lady," he muttered as he grabbed the keys from her stunned hand and lobbed them toward me. "That girl's about to die." I caught them, sprinted to the van, and jammed the key into the lock. The door handle was hot, searing the skin on my palm. Smoke seeped in through the cracks, swirling around Eden's terrified face. "Daddy," she cried. "I've got you, baby. Hold on." I yanked the door open, choking on the smoke, and unbuckled her from the custom harness. The moment she was in my arms, the windshield of the burning sedan imploded behind us, glass scattering like shrapnel. I ran. We made it across the street and into the shade of a neighbor's garden. I set Eden down gently on a stone bench, her breathing fast but steady. She was safe. Behind us, Evelyn was still struggling on the ground, shouting, "I know my rights. This is assault." That van was not registered. I turned away from her and looked at my daughter. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "I'm okay." "That lady, she said I don't belong here. She said this place is for normal kids." I looked back at Evelyn, who now had soot on her cream suit and a twisted scowl on her face. That was when the explosion happened. The sedan's fuel tank ignited with a boom that shook the air. My van caught quickly, first the tires, then the interior. We stood there, helpless, watching Eden's wheelchair, her voice assistance device, and all her specialized gear disappear in flames. By the time the fire trucks arrived, there was nothing left to save. But the story wasn't over. When Officer Celia Ramirez from my old precinct stepped out of her patrol car, I didn't have to say much. "Commander Ford," she said, stunned. "I live here now," I said, "and I'm filing charges." That woman stole keys, locked my daughter in a van, and refused to move during a life-threatening situation. Celia's face hardened. She approached Evelyn, who was now loudly accusing everyone of conspiracy. "You locked a disabled child in a vehicle and prevented emergency response," Celia said. "You're under arrest." "You can't arrest me," Evelyn cried, mascara streaking down her face. "I was upholding HOA policy." Celia didn't bother answering. She just read Evelyn her rights. The days that followed were a whirlwind. My van was gone. Eden's equipment was destroyed. Insurance would only cover so much, and it would take months to get her replacement devices. But something extraordinary happened. The neighbors, the ones who had once feared Evelyn, rallied. Marcus' family lent us their mobility van. A retired robotics engineer named Mr. Crowley built Eden a temporary wheelchair using bike parts and carbon fiber tubing. The HOA board held an emergency vote and unanimously ousted Evelyn. Even her husband, Gregory Harrow, showed up at our doorstep one evening with tears in his eyes and a check in his hand. "This won't fix it," he said, "but it's a start. I've let her hurt people for years. I'm done. I'm filing for divorce. Selling the house." The check was for $75,000. "I can't take this," I told him. "You have to," he said. "This is her debt. It's time she pays." But justice didn't stop there. Surveillance footage from the community center showed Evelyn taking the keys from May's purse and grinning as Eden panicked inside the locked van. Then came the text messages. One read, "Maybe the fire will clear out the charity cases. HOA was better before." The district attorney upgraded the charges to attempted manslaughter and hate-based endangerment. Media picked up the story. Local news stations ran the footage. Evelyn was fired from her real estate agency. Clients pulled contracts. Former residents came forward with similar horror stories. The judge was unforgiving. "Your actions display a pattern of cruelty and bigotry," he said at her sentencing. "You nearly cost a child her life." Evelyn Harrow was sentenced to 15 years in prison with no chance of parole for 10. Her mansion, now vacated and stripped of its pretension, was donated by Gregory Harrow to the city for conversion into a recreation center for children with disabilities. 6 months later, the grand opening was held. The plaque out front read, "Lily's Place, in honor of Eden Ford, whose courage transformed a community." As I watched my daughter cut the ribbon with her new wheelchair, surrounded by children laughing and playing on ramps, climbing walls, and adaptive playground equipment, something in me healed. Out of Evelyn's cruelty, something beautiful had bloomed. That night, as I tucked Eden into bed, she looked up at me and asked, "Daddy, do you think the mean lady will learn to be nice in jail?" I kissed her forehead. "I hope so, sweetheart. But even if she doesn't, what she did helped build this place." Eden smiled sleepily. "Then maybe bad people can help good things happen, if they get a long enough time out." And that was the moment I knew. We hadn't just survived, we had changed something. For good.